beyond career and technical education. So I just said a word about these. So these states will be focusing on these pathways and will begin to build aligned curriculum. One thing I should say, though, is when we talk about pathways, we're not talking just about the career pathway. I think one of the things that you've had a problem with in this country, and we certainly have had too, is that vocational education has been perceived as very narrow and really at the service of specific companies' needs. And one of the things to me that's been very attractive in the work I've done on the European systems is to see that there's a commitment among employers as well as social partners to maintain the breadth of the system, and particularly the ability to learn how to learn. Just say a quick word about the breadth issue. I just came from Finland. All of you probably know the Finland miracle with PISA. So I got so tired of hearing about how wonderful 15-year-olds, that without having any idea what happened after 15. So I decided I would go and take a look at their vet system, and that's now serving about 50% of students and growing pretty quickly. It's actually a bit more now than 50%. One of the interesting things that I heard in all of the schools that I visited was that a very important part of what they're teaching in vet is for students to be entrepreneurs. Whether they're working in a company, a big company, or whether they're starting a company themselves. And I think it's an interesting way to think about this breadth issue, because their view, and I was surprised, they don't have intermediary organizations, but one of the ways that they teach students, and I think this is relatively new, is that part of what they learn is to be the entrepreneur at 16 or 18 who goes out to find a work placement. And the process of doing the research, finding the placement, some students are doing 20 applications in many cases, is part of learning to be an entrepreneur, which is to know your own skills, advocate for yourself, and be an active participant in creating your own future. But I also think, and the economists say this in a nice way, that employers need to understand that the young person should own their own skills and be able to sell them in the marketplace. In other words, they should be broad enough so that they're transferable. There's a certain point at which you bring your skills in a specific area, but the company puts the finishing touches on it for their particular needs, or at least that's the way I think about public investment, which is into the labor market, into a sector, but not into, you need to do it exactly this way because you're in my company. So I'm going to, I see time is going quickly here, so I'm going to just zoom through this. The asset mapping that we did this summer in all of these, in all of the states yielded a lot of observations about what was going on. Some of this may ring true to you. I'm just going to look at one or two of these. So the issue of there's a miscommunication year after year between employers and educators. Employers don't want to be in the business of improving schools, and school people don't understand the business environment. So being very specific and having a good communication is really important. So this is about having intermediaries. Career advising we've talked about, but time and time again we heard this issue of parents need to be part of this and they don't know. Teachers doing externships, very, very important, because teachers themselves don't know about the workplace. Having just come from Finland, there the teachers' schedules are such that when their students are in workplaces, they are back and forth in the workplaces as well, and that helps them keep their skills up to date. We talked about this morning, there are alignment issues, but also that because of the fiscal crisis, many adults are coming back to school with lots of experience and lots of motivation, and they're pushing out or preventing young people from taking those places. So there's a real capacity issue, at least in the States, that we need to pay attention to. So I think I'm going to skip this. This is much more U.S. centered, except that I think every country, even with very good systems, does have this issue of combating the stigma. One of the ways we're doing it is really by looking at the earnings outcomes for middle skilled jobs. Now in the U.S., I was just comparing entry-level wages with a humanities degree from a 4-year institution versus someone with technical skills from a 2-year. It's about 10 to 15% higher at the entry level if you get a job with your 4-year degree. And that's something that I think parents and kids understand. So getting these modern careers with high technical skills, you can sell as a good way of being able to enter, at least get a good entry-level job and have the possibility of earning what we call a family supporting wage. This is all about legislation, which we can talk about. We have many new things going on in the U.S., and some of it I think will be very, very important in supporting this kind of 9 through 14 pathways linked to careers. I will say one final thing, which is really kind of interesting, is a number of Swiss and German and Austrian companies have now moved big plans to the U.S., part of a reshoring process. Very interesting. Volkswagen just built a plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They're hiring 3,000 people. It's such a spectacular plant that you have to make an appointment 3 weeks in advance to even get a tour. And they are with a kind of a community college, a new science high school, and a adult technical skills center. This is the only place outside of, the only place where they're doing training outside of their own company. And these are small experiments, but they're pretty powerful to see how the German, Swiss, Austrian apprenticeship system is being adapted to the U.S. And particularly around this advanced manufacturing, we're finding the need there is so high that employers are very willing to jump in. They don't have welders, they don't have people who can make these incredibly expensive one-off machines, and parents and kids still think it's dirty, dangerous work. And I was in a factory in Helsinki the other day where it was silent and clean, and the person in the manufacturing person was sitting in front of a computer. So there we are. This is a little bit about my organization. So why don't I stop there? And I'm sort of keeping an eye on all of you. I can't tell how much of this